Bună seara! Mă bucur foarte mult să ne revedem aici pe Instagram live la o nouă întâlnire din seria Doer Talks. Ca de obicei, la început de sesiune vreau să vă invit să lăsați un like, să lăsați comentarii, să vă adresați întrebările și curiozitățile invitatului meu. De asemenea, să dați share la final dacă v-a plăcut ceea ce s-a discutat aici și să salvați în cazul în care vreți să reascultați pe viitor, pentru că de la început vă spun că această discuție rămâne în feed-ul meu pentru voi să o puteți revedea oricând. Vreau să-mi spuneți dacă ne vedem bine, dacă ne auzim bine și mi-ar plăcea să mai îmi spuneți de unde sunteți, de unde urmăriți această discuție și de asemenea v-aș mai întreba care a fost ultima dată când v-ați zis așa la început de zi: astăzi nu mă grăbesc. Pentru că vă spun sincer că trăiesc așa ceva extrem de rar și mi se pare că viața mea este tot timpul pe fugă. Mi se pare că sunt practic veșnic într-o întârziere, că nu mi-ajunge niciodată ziua pentru a bifa toate acele taskuri de pe lista mea de to-do pe care le am de făcut și nu știu dacă așa este normal să fie. Nu știu dacă într-o eră în care totuși avem parte de foarte multă tehnologie care ne ajută și ne face viețile mai ușoare, ne înlesnește tot felul de lucruri, este normal noi în continuare să trăim cu senzația că nu avem timp. Dar asta este realitatea. Mulțumesc pentru că mi-ați confirmat că ne auzim bine, că ne vedem bine. Bună seara, Roma! Ce-mi place când văd că avem audiență și de peste mări și țări. Minunat! Din Roma, în județul Neamț. Ce frumos! Că astăzi nu merg, am făcut o baie relaxantă și mi-am pus o mască de ten. Superb! Eu îmi propun asta în fiecare dimineață și îți iese. Chiar sunt curioasă dacă sunt unii oameni cărora le iese această idee de astăzi nu mă grăbesc. Cum o să ne iasă, dacă vrem să ne iasă, o să ne învețe invitatul meu din această seară, care este autor de bestsellere internaționale, este jurnalist, este speaker TED și unul dintre cei mai cunoscuți ambasadori ai mișcării slow, fiind supranumit părintele acestui curent. Așadar, doamnelor și domnilor, dați-mi voie să îl invit alături de noi pe unul dintre speakerii conferinței The Inner de la început de lună iunie, și anume Carl Honoré, pe care vreau să îl invit să ni se alăture. O să vă spun că el ne învață cum într-o lume dependentă de viteză, încetinirea ritmului este o supraputere care ne îmbunătățește calitatea vieții, ne sporește satisfacția și ne oferă tot mai mult sens. Good evening, dear Carl.
Good evening, Sonia. It's lovely to be here with you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us about slow living. Do you have this time? Is this time available to you?
I always have time, right? Yeah. I'm never in a rush.
Now you have to teach us to do this too, because I just mentioned in my introduction, and I asked the audience when was the last time when they made a pact with themselves in the morning, saying, "Today I won't be in a hurry." And I asked this, and there were some people who said, "Oh, I'm doing this almost every day, but personally, I cannot achieve that." And I want to talk a little bit about that, how to take time and not to be in a hurry. And my first question would be, what does it mean being slow?
Let me start off by saying what it does not mean to be slow, right? Because I think that in our culture, which is obsessed with speed and that has placed on a pedestal fast, busy, multitasking, that we hear the word slow and we think, that sounds boring, that sounds unproductive, that sounds unhappy, no one will like me, right? My life will end. And that's not what slow is, right? And it's certainly not doing everything slowly, right? You know, I'm not an extremist of slowness. I love speed, right? Faster is often better. I'm speaking to you from London, where I live. I love the volcanic energy of the city. I play hockey in my spare time. I like fast sports. Fast, I love fast, right? This slow revolution is about doing things at the right speed. So understanding that there are times for fast, but there are also times to slow things down as well. Musicians have a wonderful expression, which is tempo giusto, the correct tempo for each piece of music. And I think that gets at what slow is about. It's about arriving at each moment thinking, what is the right tempo for this moment? If it's fast, I'll go fast. But if it's about slowing down, I'll slow down. Because really, ultimately, slow is a mindset. It's quality over quantity. It's being present and in the moment. It's doing one thing at a time. Do you remember when we used to do one thing at a time? Ultimately, slow really is about doing everything not as fast as possible, but as well as possible, which is a very simple idea, but an immensely powerful one, because it can revolutionize, in a good way, everything you do, from the way you work, to the way you exercise, the way you make love, the way you raise your children, the way you play, the way you eat. You know, if you arrive at each moment thinking, how can I get the most out of this moment by bringing my full attention to it and finding the right speed? There's the secret to a good life right there.
Okay. I might translate that into enjoying everything that you do and trying to, let's say when you sit at the table and you eat, just chewing the food and realizing what you're chewing and how it tastes and how it makes you feel. No, something like this?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a very simple thing you've said there to do. But people find it very hard to do nowadays. The last time I was in Romania not long ago, in Bucharest, and I went into a restaurant, and every single person at the table was looking at their phone and eating at the same time, right? So nobody is holding a gun to your head saying, pick up your phone while you eat, right? These are mistakes that we all make ourselves, which means there are changes we can all make in our lives to slow things down. The trouble is the culture is constantly telling us one message, which is faster is better. You have no choice. You know, you cannot slow down, but that's not true. There are so many ways, so many instances where we can choose to pick a different speed, or not to reach for our phone, right? Or we can also choose to do less, right? That's something else that's very countercultural and scary for people, but is essential for slowing down, because we live in a world that is an enormous smorgasbord, an infinite buffet of things to do, eat, consume, buy, experience. And the natural human instinct is to want to have it all. Like the women's magazines, right? Having it all. But having it all is not possible. Having it all is a recipe for hurrying it all, which is not really living at all. And so the first step to slowing down is pinpointing what's really important to you, focusing your attention on those things and letting everything else go. Like if anyone looking at their schedule now, if you look back a week, most of the things you did a week ago that you thought, this is so important, I have to do this thing, you've forgotten them because they weren't important, right? There are very, very few things that are important, that really are meaningful. And once we slow down and start focusing on those things, giving the things that really matter, that are time and attention, you realize that the other stuff is just filling. It's fluff, it's distraction, and you can let it go. So the title of my book I have a copy of my slow. Yeah. I got my. I've actually got the Romanian.
In praise of slow,
in praise of slow. Exactly. Elogiul lentorii. In English, it's in praise of slow, but it could easily also be in praise of no, right? Saying no to things. We are always, and I think especially women have this problem. They feel obliged to say yes to everybody, right? Make everybody else happy. Please everybody else. Look good on social media. And that's all about saying yes. But if you say yes to everything, you have no time because no one has time to do everything. So really a big part of this slow revolution for us individually is to relearn the lost art of saying no. Just saying no. And in fact, people will tell you, if I say no, my life will end. It won't. Your life will light up because you'll be doing fewer things, but you'll be doing them better and enjoying them more. There's a great quote, final thought here. There's the legendary American investor, Warren Buffett, who 90 odd years old. Well, yeah, everybody knows Warren Buffett. He once said, the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything, right? So I think that's something that we could all think about. How liberating, how elevating, how thrilling it is to say no. Because when you say no to things that don't matter, what you're really doing is saying yes to things that do. And that's what slow life is all about. Saying yes, a big yes, to the things that matter.
Now, what matters? Family matters.
Family matters.
Yeah. Partner and children. Health matters. And health means practicing some exercise, taking care of your food, giving yourself time to relax mentally and physically. Then another thing that matters is also our job, because we have to work and to earn the money to be able to live the lives with our families and to practice and to exercise and so on. So all these three major pillars of what's important in life are interconnected, and we only have 24 hours a day. They say 8 hours are for sleep, 8 hours are for work, and 8 hours are for resting and hobbies and all these kind of things. But actually, when you look at them and when you think of each of these three pillars, you realize that even if you want to be successful in all three areas, it's impossible in one day.
Well, it depends how you define success, right? If you define success as doing many, many things very, very fast, then it is impossible, of course. But if you have a slow definition of success, which means you're going to use the 24 hours you have in the day in order to look after your body, cultivate and enjoy your relationships, and do good work well, then I think everybody's got time to do that, right? People have had time to do that all the way through human history. We're never going to have more than 24 hours. So it's how we choose to use those hours. I mean, so often people, especially in the workplace, they make a misconnection. They think working longer, hard, it means working better. And it doesn't. You can only squeeze so much productive work out of a human being before that person, the productivity falls off. And so that's why forward-looking companies, around the world are looking for ways to limit working hours, to send people home at 6 o'clock. They're saying, don't stay at your computer till 9 p.m. You're not doing good work anymore. You're harming your health. You're making mistakes that hurt the company, and you're neglecting your friends and family, right? And the truth, of course, is that nobody will remember that you worked late at the office apart from your children.
I know. True. We plan to talk today about challenges in being slow in our modern lives. And I believe one of the main challenges is that even though technology is with us and it's improving our lives, and it succeeds in making things easier, even though we have this technology, it seems like the time is less and less.
Yeah.
Am I right?
It is. Well, I do. It's the paradox of modern technology. And the technology is, for the most part, is not to blame here. Most technology is neutral. The question is how we use it. And if you imagine having an iPhone that allows you to get some really good work done on the train or the bus, right? So let's say you get 20 minutes of work done you could never have done 20 years ago because you didn't have a laptop, you didn't have a phone. Okay, you've done 20 minutes of work. The question is, what do you do with the 20 minutes that you've saved, right? The trouble is we don't stop working. We don't stop doing. We just keep going, right? And the world is pushing us in that direction because everything, all the messages coming from advertising, from our friends, from social media is more. And the technology allows us to do more. So it becomes like a black hole of time sucking in hour after hour. I mean, I've got an iPhone. I'm talking to you on my iPhone now. I'm on social media. It's great fun. It's useful for my work. It connects me with people. I love social media, but I'm not on it all the time, right? And the thing about social media is a perfect example. You know, people will sit down on the sofa start scrolling through Instagram, thinking, yeah, I'll check out Instagram. And you're there 2 hours later thinking,
Yes.
where did those 2 hours go? Nothing, and you've been doing nothing. Nobody lies on their deathbed and looks back over their life and thinks, I wish I'd spent more time on Instagram, right? Or more time shopping, or more time in the office. And yet those are the things that we choose. And the word here is really important. We choose to give that time to those things that don't matter, right? That's where the problem is. That's where the disconnect arises. I mean, social media, great, but it's about sort of knowing when to be on and when to be off, when to be fast and when to be slow, right? And that's really where the music and the magic happen. When you get that balance between using the speed of technology, then backing off for those human moments when you don't want the speed. And can I just give you an example of a new social ritual that has come up, which I think shows how, because throughout history, when a new technology emerges, we go too far at the beginning. We don't know how to use it. It takes time to come up with the social rules, the norms, the protocols to get the most out of the technology. And I think we're now coming into that second phase with smartphones where we're starting to think, okay, this is an incredibly powerful tool. It's a wonderful toy, but, right, we need to work out how, and I think more and more people are finding ways to use the tools wisely and sensibly. The one example I want to give you is not to do with the workplace, although there are many examples there too. This is from social life. There's a new ritual called stacking. Now, I don't know if it's arrived in Romania yet, but what it is...
Please explain.
I'll explain it. So stacking is this, when this is usually young people, so we're talking teenagers, 20-somethings, go out for a coffee at Starbucks or have sushi. They're sitting around the table. Everybody piles their phone up in a stack in the middle of the table, and whoever pulls the phone out first to look at Snapchat or read Instagram pays the bill for everybody at the table, right? They pay for everybody's coffee, you know.
That's good. That's good.
It's just a fun way of saying, we have this moment here together now. We will never have this moment again. Why spoil it by trying to be in 5 other moments at the same time? And the really hopeful aspect of this emergence of stacking is that it's not a ritual created by, 60, 70, 80, 50 something people who did not grow up with screens. This is something that the digital natives themselves have come to. They're saying, okay, we love a bit of Snapchat. TikTok is a lot of fun, but there have to be limits. Sometimes you want the speed of TikTok. Sometimes you just want to sit with a friend and talk, right? Undistracted. And so I'm optimistic. I think we're now getting to that stage where we will start to, find the right balance with our technology so that the technology can actually help us slow down rather than do what you said a moment ago, which is to speed us up, which is what has happened, I think, in the first phase with the tech.
Now, would you think that this applies also to people who are active in social media and online when it comes to their jobs? Because when you are involved in social media and you have to communicate and you have to be up to date with everything new that happens online, because if you're not up to date, then you won't be in front of the people anymore, because then the other come and they are on the stage in front of you. So you really have to keep up with all the changes that happen so quickly. Does this apply also to this kind of people? And if it should apply, how should they balance the ongoing and fast-going technology and still being relevant and staying relevant?
I understand. Yeah, I think that kind of job is harder, possibly the hardest job, of course, because the pressure, like you've just described there, the pressure is on, right? You have to be on it. You need to be on the cutting edge, what's new. But I think there's also a kind of cult of the new in that world. So there's this sort of belief that if you go offline for 30 minutes, your career is over, right? And most people who work in social media are not that important, right? And things are not moving that fast, which means there is always time to switch off. Like the idea that if you work in social media, you have to get up in the middle of the night to check your messages, that is just ludicrous, right?
It's crazy. No.
And anyway, even if you do that, and maybe 1 out of 10 times you gain a little advantage somewhere, you're gonna kill yourself. Your health is gonna just be destroyed by getting up in the night. And so the much wiser investment is to think, okay, I'm in a job that does require me to stay on top of things. So are there ways I can stay on top of things that don't involve looking at my messages in the middle of the night? So one way might be to share some of the burden of being on top. If you're in a team, you sort of say, okay, there's some hours here that everyone in the team is allowed to book off time, right? And they just don't have to, but someone else in the team will be watching in case some big thing happens. And then if some big thing happens, you go get the person who's, so just like doctors, right? They're not in the hospital 24 hours a day, but they can be called in if there's an emergency, right? So I think you share the burden. You try and share it with a team or someone else. That's one way to do it. Another thing is just simply to run experiments. Think to yourself, okay, I've told myself the world is telling me I cannot ever turn off. I'm going to run a little pilot project for 1 week. I'm just going to try turning off, a few hours here or there. And then at the end of the week, see what happened. Like, did the sky fall in? Or did you have a really good conversation with your child and meet a, handsome man in the Starbucks and start a new relationship, or have a, whatever it is, right? Or did your company fall apart? My guess is that
it won't happen.
Not fall apart, right? So, but there's so much fear. We're just locked into the fear of thinking, if I slow down even a tiny bit, the world will end. It won't. Nobody is that important. Nobody is that important, right? Everybody needs to stop. I mean, I'm not sure who the president of, even people who are running countries go to sleep, right? Those are people who need to be on top of events all the time, but they're not up 24 hours a day. They rest. They do meditation. They go for walks. They have dinner with Obama, is famous for, no matter what was happening in the world, President Obama went downstairs and had dinner with his family, right? Pretty much every night. Now, he's a pretty busy guy. He's more busy than anyone else watching this podcast interview now. I can guarantee it. And he was able to switch off, right? So, obviously everybody's different. And I know this is a scary thing for someone who works in social media to think, but I would just say, try, you don't have to go all in. Do a week's experiment and see how it feels. And I feel pretty sure you will find at least some ways that you can slow down with the screens.
So I mentioned 2 challenges, let's say, in order to achieve slowness. What would you say as a 3rd challenge that you noticed? That
makes it difficult for people to slow down, you mean? Yeah. I think often it's other people, right? Other people's impatience, other people's judgment, other people's behavior. Because I think of it as we've just come through a global pandemic, right? We had the virus, of COVID. We're also contaminated with the virus of hurry, right? And a virus spread through a population. And I think even when we feel in our bones, it would be good for us to slow down, even when we yearn to put on the brakes, often we don't do it because the taboo in the culture is so deep. And other people are going so fast that we get infected by their speed. So I certainly found when I began to slow myself down, that was one of the biggest challenges, was not looking at other people less and looking more at myself, thinking, okay, what is it slowing down doing for my work, for my thinking, for my relationships, for my health, for my sleep, for my happiness? Using my own metrics rather than thinking, well, that person's going or she's moving very, because as soon as you start looking at other people, you lose the game because everybody is different. Everybody has their own internal metronome, right? So what is fast for me might be slow for you. And what's just perfect for you might be a little too slow for me, So the idea that we must measure ourselves and follow what everyone else is doing, no, take that idea and throw it out the window. You need to focus on what works for you, of course, in the context with other people, but the starting point is yourself. You have to put your own house in order first, or like Gandhi said, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. You can't offer your staff calm and slowness. You can't offer it to your children. You can't offer it to your partner if you're running around like a headless chicken. You need to get yourself sorted out first, slow-wise. So look to yourself rather than worrying about what the people next door or your rival in the next office cubicle is doing, right? That's their speed problem, not yours.
Do you think that also relationships are getting worse because of this speed that we're living in?
I do think so. I mean, across the world, the data suggests that we're in the middle of a global pandemic of loneliness. And what does that tell us? It tells us that we are living in an age where we are more connected electronically than ever before, and yet we've never felt so alone. And that's because of what we spoke about before, that the tech, you know, these little connections, a like, a comment, you know, that doesn't sustain us as human beings. It's a great thing to have as an extra, but it doesn't replace a long walk in the park with a loved one or a friend, right? It doesn't replace an embrace. It doesn't replace listening, because so much of social media is really just broadcasting. There's very little listening going on social media. So we were in this weird paradox where we're super connected. We walk around with this gadget in our pocket that offers us social media, right? When in fact we're completely starved of social connection. And social relationships actually are a good example of where speed doesn't work, because human relationships cannot be accelerated, right? No matter how much of a rush you're in, you can't make someone fall in love with you faster because you want to get married in June, right? Or you can't forge a deep friendship with someone next week because you need someone to go travel around Asia with you. You can't download team spirit in a company from Amazon, right? These things have a natural arc of time, and they are unchanging. We need a certain amount of time to build trust and love. And actually the data, this is not just me sounding off. The studies show that we need a certain number of hours of time just together, not through social media, but together in slow context in order to build relationships. So yeah, I think that of all the things that we sacrifice on the altar of speed, I think social relationships is very near the top of the list, which is why, what was the one thing we missed during the pandemic and the lockdowns? Social connection.
Seeing each other, seeing our loved
seeing
ones,
each other.
being with them.
True. Not Zooming. We had enough of that.
No.
We wanted to get out with people, be in nature, be with other human beings. The simple, eternal, slow stuff that has always nourished us, that has always made us human, right? That's the stuff that we want. That's the stuff we wanted. That's the stuff that we need. And that's the stuff we get when we slow down.
Do you think that living in a big city makes it possible truly to live a slow life?
I 100% do. And I'm living proof of that, because I'm living in London, one of the fastest cities in the world.
Craziest city in Europe.
Yeah, I don't feel rushed. You know, I used to feel rushed here, but I don't now. I feel I always have enough time for things. Things I do, I really enjoy. So I'm living a slow life in the middle of London. And I'm a naturally fast person. So honestly, if I can do it, pretty much anyone can do it. But it is true, I think, that it's harder in a big city, because cities work a bit like giant particle accelerators, right? So they attract fast people, then they make them faster with all the competition and the claustrophobia and the consumption and the noise and all that. Of course they do. It's much easier to reconnect with your inner tortoise, you know, to get into a slow Zen mode in the middle of a forest than it is in Oxford Street in London, right? Of course it is. That goes without saying. But it is possible to be I was there this morning. I cycled into town and I had to do a bit of shopping, and I was in Oxford Street, and there were thousands of people, and I didn't feel in any way rushed or anxious or stressed. So inside your head, you could have a kind of internal calm or an internal slowness that allows you to navigate a very fast environment that other people are getting caught up in and speeding along. That if you choose to build that slow reservoir of internal, tranquility and focus and attention,
serenity,
it's portable. You can take it anywhere. You can take it to Tokyo, you can take it to Bucharest, you can take it to Rome, you can take it to London, as I've done. It can go anywhere with you.
I don't want to keep you up too long, and I will ask you at the end of our talk, because we will see you in Cluj very soon, and you will be talking there at the conference, at the inner conference, about what?
About slowing down. I mean, my mantra is this: that in a world addicted to speed, slowness is a superpower. So that will be my message in Cluj-Napoca in what is it, 8 days from now? Yeah, a week from now.
Yeah.
Not long.
You'll be the speaker on the 4th of June.
4th of June.
I think on the 4th of June, right?
Sunday the 4th. Yeah.
So before seeing you in Cluj, please give us 3 tips for slowing down that we can apply now, tonight, this evening.
Tonight. First thing, do less. Look at your schedule for the next week, and each day pick one thing, the least important thing, and drop it. Just don't do it. Just get rid of it, right? Create more time. Number 2, use the off button on your phone, right? Find 2 hours every day this week or even 1 hour if you find too scary, 1 hour when you just turn off, right? Leave your phone, go for a walk, do something without your phone nearby or on, okay? So switch off. Third thing, I always recommend incorporating some kind of slow ritual into your life, or some kind of slow activity that vaccinates you against the virus of hurry. So it could be, a bit of yoga or knitting or reading a poetry or drawing or anything that just vaccinates you against that virus of hurry, and try to build that into your schedule. You don't have to do 8 hours of it. You can do 8 minutes, right? And just bring that calm to wherever you are. And then the final one I would suggest is Mother Nature, right? Getting out into green space. We know the science is super clear. It relaxes us. It takes down the stress. It slows us down, because Mother Nature is the master,
ultimate
the
healer
of slowness, right?
Yeah, and the ultimate healer. It's what I experienced 2 weeks ago in a weekend out of Bucharest, near Cluj, near Sibiu. It's a place in the middle of the nature, and actually after 3 days staying there, when I left the place, driving home to Bucharest, I was like, I wanted to cry, because I knew what was waiting for me in the big city. So yeah.
Nature. And it's, of course, it's wonderful if you can go out to a forest or something, but even just going to a park in whatever city you're in, sitting on the grass, leaning up against a tree, just being in nature. I mean, nature is the ultimate healer, as you say. Nature is a champion of slowness. That's where we can tap into it. It's the bank of slowness. We all have an account there. We can go take out some slowness anytime we want from the bank of nature.
Thank you, Carl, for taking your time to be with us, for having the time to be with us, and for giving us some hints in order to change our lives for the better by slowing down.
I've enjoyed being with you, and I can't wait to get back to Romania. Big fan.
Me too. Can't wait to meet you in Cluj. I will be there, so for sure we'll get to talk to each other in front, eye to eye, in front, live.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the fast version. We'll have a slow version in Cluj.
Yes, exactly. Definitely. Having a good, slow glass of wine. Have a lovely evening. And see you soon. Thank you.
And to everybody else, wish you all a wonderful evening full of good slow. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dragii mei, aceasta a fost întâlnirea din seara aceasta cu Carl Honoré, unul dintre speakerii internaționali ai conferinței The Inner Mapping Inside, care va avea loc între 2 și 4 iunie la Cluj-Napoca, o conferință, experiență pe care eu vă recomand. Anul trecut am fost acolo și a fost fantastic să stau de vorbă cu speakerii, să-i ascult. A fost așa o conexiune autentică, o conexiune din care am vrut să nu ies prea repede, dar astea sunt cele 3 zile și e bine că măcar astea 3 zile există. Așadar, dacă vă interesează voastră de bine, dacă vreți să faceți ceva pentru ea, dacă vreți să vă îmbunătățiți viețile pe orice plan, vă invit să aruncați un ochi pe site-ul theinner.ro să vedeți care sunt speakerii, care sunt temele acestei ediții și dacă aveți dacă aveți timp sau dacă vă faceți timp, să fiți acolo la Cluj, la The Inner. Vă doresc o seară minunată și ceea ce eu voi face în aceste momente sau după această intervenție va fi să îmi închid telefonul pentru o oră. Să vedem ce se întâmplă. Pică lumea sau nu pică lumea? Eu zic că nu o să pice. Nu o să pice la nimeni dacă închidem un pic telefonul. V-am pupat, seară frumoasă!